Okay, we are going to start chapter 6, and chapter 6 is mostly about algebraic fractions and ratios. So we're going to start by looking at simplifying fractions. Okay, we're going to start off easy. Okay, so we're going to learn to simplify algebraic fractions. So simplest form, we always want our answers to be in simplest form, and that means the denominator and the numerator of an algebraic fraction have no common factors other than 1 or -1. Okay, so to simplify a fraction, first factor the numerator and denominator. So very first thing you have to do is factor them. Don't start crossing stuff out. These are not factors. These are not factors. I cannot cancel out anything because I don't have any factors yet. So the first thing I'm going to do is factor them. So I look at my binomial, 3a plus 6, and I have a common factor of 3. So it's going to be 3 times a plus 2. That's as far as I can factor that. If I look at my bottom, I have 3a plus 3b, and again, I can factor out a 3, and I'm left with a plus b. Okay, now they're completely factored. Now I can cancel out common factors. Obviously, they have this 3 in common, so I can cancel that out. A plus 2 and a plus b are not the same thing. I cannot cancel out these a's because the a's by themselves are not factors. The factor up here is a plus 2. A plus 2 is the entire factor, and a plus b is the entire factor. They're not the same, so I can't go any further. So that is my answer, a plus 2 over a plus b. It's super, super critical that you understand what a factor is and what you can and cannot cancel out. Okay. Let's look at example 2. Again, I have to factor completely. So everything we learned in chapter 5, you need to remember. All right, this is a difference of 2 squares. So that's going to be x minus 3, x plus 3. That's completely factored. Here I have 2x plus 1 and 3x plus 2. Or 3 plus x. It's already completely factored. So I'm looking to see what factors they have in common. Here I have x plus 3, and here I have 3 plus x. They are the same because addition is commutative. It doesn't matter the order. I could rewrite this as 3 plus x, or x plus 3, and I can rewrite this as 3 plus x. So those will cancel out because they're the same thing. Here, these are not the same, so I'm left with these two factors, and that is my solution. Okay. Example 3, again, I have to factor completely before I can cancel anything out. So I'm going to use my space over here. I have 2x squared plus x minus 3. I can do slide divide bottoms up. And that'll be 3 and 2 and plus and minus. And I can divide by 2. And I end up with x minus 1 and 2x plus 3. So I have x minus 1 is one factor, and 2x plus 3 is my other factor. And then I have this one, which is 2 minus x squared. I'm going to change the order, so I have negative x squared minus x plus 2. I'm going to factor out a negative 1, which gives me x squared plus x minus 2. And then let's see if I can factor that. Two numbers that will multiply to give me 2 that will add up to positive 1. That's going to be 2 and 1, and that'll be plus, and that'll be minus. Okay, so I have negative 1. And I don't even have to put the 1. I could just put the negative. X plus 2 and x minus 1. And as you can see, I have the x minus 1s in common. 2x plus 3 and x plus 2, they're not the same. I'm going to go ahead and put this negative just out in the front. Okay, remember the negatives, you can put them wherever you want. And I have 2x plus 3 on the top and x plus 2 on the bottom. Okay. Example 4. Solve this equation for x. Okay, so how do we solve this equation for x? Well, let's see. That's a good question. How about if we subtract, I could subtract everything. What I want to do is I want to get x by itself. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to factor out, I'm going to bring this over here. So ax minus a squared minus bx plus b squared, okay, equals 0, because I subtracted those. Now I'm going to put my x terms together. Minus minus a squared plus b squared equals 0. And I'm going to factor out this x, a minus b, okay? But I can't do anything with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move these things back over to the other side. So that becomes a squared minus b squared, which I can factor. A squared minus b squared is a minus b, a plus b, and I can divide both sides by a minus b. And I end up with x is equal to, and these a minus b's cancel out, so x is equal to a plus b. Okay, so this involved a bunch of stuff. It involved factoring and it involved just solving the equation. All right, let's look at our try this. Simplify. Okay, remember, before we simplify it, we have to factor completely. So for the numerator, I can factor out a 2, and that gives me n plus 4. For the denominator, I can factor out a 3, and that gives me n plus 4. The n plus 4s will cancel out, and I'm left with 2/3. Here, it looks like it's factored completely, but it's not. This is a difference of 2 squares, so I can go ahead and factor that. So I have 4 minus x. This will be x minus 3, x plus 3. And this will be x minus 4, x minus 3. Okay, the x minus 3's cancel out. 4 minus x and x minus 4 are not the same thing. Subtraction is not commutative. However, if you recall, when we talked about opposites, I can factor out a negative, and this 4 minus x becomes an x minus 4 all over x minus 4. Now I can cancel these out, and I'm left with a negative x plus 3. Keep that x plus 3 in parentheses since you have this negative, or you can distribute the negative and write it like that. Okay, so be careful about your opposites.